Reggie Bush is back after missing last week's game, and he has the football on first down. And look who makes his presence known. We haven't heard a lot this season from Julius Peppers, and he makes a tackle there on first down.
Well, we've already talked about Reggie Bush and Calvin Johnson. Watch for the tight ends, Brandon Pettigrew and Joseph Fourier. You could even throw in Tony Scheffler. Because of the absence of Nate Burleson today, we're going to see a lot more 2, maybe even 3 tight end alignments.
Burleson, of course, had the freak accident getting a pizza at 2 o'clock in the morning earlier in the week. Wound up in a single car accident and broke 2 bones in his forearm. Reggie Bush up to the 27-yard line, brings up a third down and less than 2. Chicago defensively.
Well, you start with Julius Peppers, but I tell you what, Peppers has not had much of a big impact yet. He's without a sack thus far this year. But you talk about turnovers, Tim Jennings, Charles Tillman on the back end. They once again lead the league in takeaways to the Chicago Bears.
Now we need to keep an eye, of course, on Charles Tillman. Bothered with both a knee injury and a groin injury coming into play today. He is in the lineup. And down at the bottom of your screen, locked up with Calvin Johnson. Third down, they run it. And that's a first down. Joik Bell, who attended nearby Wayne State University, and he picks up the first down.
Now, these are the same plays they're running with Reggie Bush, but Joik Bell brings, particularly in a short yardage, look at that big power. Upon contact, he got another 2, 3, 4 yards. Not that Reggie Bush can't do that, but Joik Bell, packing a good 220-plus pounds, gives you the push you want on a 3rd and short.
Made his first start last week since he was a senior, where he won the Harlan Hill Trophy as the best player in Division II college football. And going all the way back to 2009. Stafford to throw for the first time. Wide open and too tall for Calvin Johnson. He was open down at the Chicago 40-yard line.
And he just missed Calvin Johnson to the outside. He seemed to hesitate a little bit. That kind of outside route needs to be put up early. And we're already seeing that Reggie Bush, they're going to move him around. You're going to see him out of the backfield. You're going to see him out in the slot. You're going to see him in a lot of different positions. I'll try to point him out to you so you know where he's at any given time.
Those were the numbers we talked about earlier. The problems that Calvin Johnson has had in his career against the Chicago Bears. Barely over 100 yards in 2 games combined last year. Good block. And a catch made by Reggie Bush, but defended nicely on the far sideline. And they'll spot it at the 37-yard line, so it brings up third down for the Lions.
You know, I asked Reggie Bush when we had a chance to visit with him. His rookie year, he had about 150 carries with 88 receptions with the New Orleans Saints. Last year, he had in Miami, he had 250 carries and 35 receptions. I said, which would you rather do? He said, I'd rather have the catches than the touches. I said, right answer, because you're going to stay a lot healthier and have a much bigger impact. Not that you can't run on the ball, but obviously what he can do out of the backfield is substantial.
They have Bush in a slot at the bottom of your screen. Third down and 5. Good protection. And another missed receiver by Stafford. Good coverage by Tillman, but a good throw, and that's the first down. First down. And it's Matt Forte for a gain of close to 5. Jay Cutler, since coming over from Denver in a trade in 2009, has played brilliantly against Detroit, winning 7 of 8. 12 touchdowns, only 1 interception. The 12 wins. For the 7 wins, I beg your pardon, the most by any Bears quarterback against the Lions, going all the way back to 1950. Gain of 4, so 2nd and 6. Good protection, and that throw right on the button to Brandon Marshall, and that's a first down for Chicago.
Well, now you talked about the timing of Matthew Stafford. Watch how Jay Cutler, top of the drop, let the ball go to the outside to Brandon Marshall. Anytime he sees one-on-one on Brandon Marshall, and we talked about how the safeties are going to have to drop down into this front of the defense to account for Matt Forte and the running game. Cutler's going to go at Marshall every time they give him a one-on-one matchup.
47-yard line, first down. Cutler out of the shotgun, throws wide open. Martellus Bennett is tight end down the middle of the field, and he's inside the 25-yard line.
Well, Martellus Bennett is flexed out from the formation a little bit. On the outside was Brandon Marshall, and obviously you get mesmerized by the big plays of Brandon Marshall right down the middle. That's where a tight end makes his money, 20 yards down the field between the hashes.
Bears have come racing out of the gate the early part of this season. They have scored 38 points in the opening quarter. That is most among all teams in the NFL. Cutler short drop pump fake, looks to the corner of the end zone, and it's caught but out of bounds by Marshall. Rasheem Mathis is taken over as a starter from the rookie Darius Slay in coverage.
This is a spectacular catch. I think the last time we had him, Tom, we talked about you ought to get some points for that. Just 1 or 2 for style points, because that's a spectacular catch high into the outside in the proverbial back shoulder, taking that thing off the rim. Boy, you'd like to give that catch something.
Marshall to the sideline on this second down and 10. Forte met by DeAndre Levy, and he's down to the 22-yard line, maybe a gain of a yard, perhaps 2. It brings up a 3rd and long for Chicago on their opening drive.
Now we talked about the rookie right side of Kyle Long and Jordan Mills blocking for Matt Forte, and Brandon Marshall. He's already on pace for another 100-catch year. This would be his 5th in 8 seasons.
Bears on 3rd and 7 or longer, second best to Denver in the league, converting on 53%. Cutler. Completed pass to Alshon Jeffrey, but well short of a first down. And out comes franchise history. 34-yard attempt. Good snap. Good hold, and right down the middle for Robbie Gould. Stafford out of the shotgun. His own 17. Puts it in the hands of Pettigrew, and that's a gain of 12 on first down.
Tom, the eyes of the NFL are everywhere. Even in pregame here, you see this is the clothing police for the NFL. He catches up with Tim Jennings. He's checking for knee pads, for thigh pads. He's providing a list to the coaches in the different clubs. He caught Tim Jennings here. It's kind of like when I go out, my wife tells me, well, is that how you're going to be dressed? Well, evidently not. So is that the pad you're going to wear? Evidently not. He had to put an extra set of thigh pads in there.
Reggie Bush into the open field. And across the 45-yard line.
You talk about bringing a DB down to build the box. Well, when he gets there, you better make the play. This is kind of an 8-man front. It's you and him, and I don't know that I like that combination. Conti coming down one-on-one with Reggie Bush with way too much room for his liking.
Of course, Bush arrived with a bang week 1 in his Lions debut. 90 rushing yards, 101 receiving yards, including a 77-yard touchdown. But he injured his knee week 2. Did not play last week, and he is off and running today. That'll be a gain of 12 for Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush now, he's already sizing up the hole because there's a lot of moving parts. He wants to see the rotation of those linebackers and whether he's going to cut back. He hesitates, then no, says the hole's right in front of me, gets another big gain.
Down to the Chicago 44-yard line. 4 early carries, 37 rushing yards for Reggie Bush. Joy Bell in the backfield. They fake it and look down to Durham. And again, another missed receiver early on here today by Matthew Stafford.
Mechanical in the pocket, but I tell you what, the confidence he's going to drive, taking his team down and getting that first score is huge.
This time a good throw. And the first catch by Stafford. He finds Calvin Johnson. Tillman on the coverage, and they'll move the chains again.
Talk matchup on the backside. Tillman right now, I'm not sure he didn't think he was going to get a little inside help, at least a presence by the linebacker. Those slant routes are tough to stop by a DB if there isn't a presence by the linebacker. Of course, Briggs got pulled up with the quick play fake.
That's the first completion for Stafford to a wide receiver early on in this one. Under 6 minutes to play in the opening quarter, and the Lions on the move after that 14-yard gain. Pettigrew wrapped up by Jennings down to the 25-yard line. 2nd and 5 upcoming for the Lions.
These guys are huge. You know, the big receivers in the game, that's the vogue thing. Everybody says playing long. Well, at 6'4", 6'5", these guys have a big sweep spot. Quarterbacks love big receivers because, as Matthew Stafford told us, you can miss a little bit and still get a reception, although Matthew Stafford, he may need a 6'9" or 6'10" guy in there to start. He's been off just a bit.
7th play of the drive. Fake the end around. Stafford rolling, slings it to Bell out of the backfield. He spins out of one tackle on a first down to the 14. This Jordan Bell's a nice player. He's come a long ways and bounced around to get here out of Wayne State. And of course, he'll get a lot of playing time with Nate Burleson down. They're going to use both Bell and Bush a great deal. Henry Melton, sadly, tore his ACL last week. He's on IR. We've talked about Burleson already. And at right tackle, Corey Hilliard starts his 3rd consecutive game in place of the injured Jason Fox. Bush dropped it. Yeah, Richard. Pettigrew very close to a first down. Needed to get to the 4-yard line. Got a good block by Calvin Johnson. We'll see where they spot him. He looks to be about a foot short.
Well, we said the tight ends were going to play an increased role in the offense today due to the injury to Nate Burleson. Brandon Pettigrew came in the same draft as did Stafford, and they kind of grew up together. He's been absent from the offense a little bit, been victimized by a few drops, but they've got a good, big tight end receiving core here.
Can play the drive. 3rd and less than a yard. Troy Bell next to Stafford, and he gets a ball. And it doesn't look like he got there, so decision time now for Jim Schwartz. It's one thing to go forward on a 4th down in the 4th quarter with an out. Bears able to get on top of it. First down, and Cutler steps into the throw, and incomplete on first down. He had an eye on Brandon Marshall. We know all about these Lions up front, starting with Ndamukong Suh and the rookie Ziggy Ansah.
Yeah, and the back end defensive coordinator Gunther Cunningham told us that Quinn and Delmas are the key to this defense.
Oliver Quinn, of course, coming over from Houston. Spent his first 4 years with the Texans, his last 3 as a starter. Forte to the outside. There's Delmas. Boy, that's a nice open field tackle made by Louis Delmas. And we send it back to Los Angeles to Kurt Menefee.
And another NFC North team, Minnesota. They switched to Matt Castle this week due to the rib injury to Christian Ponder. It's paying off so far. He hooks up with Greg Jennings, the former Packer, with his first touchdown as a Viking. 70 yards on the score. It's 10-0. They lead Pittsburgh and London. Tom and Brian?
The Steelers still in search of their first win. Meanwhile, here it's 3rd and 8. Fake the handoff. Cutler to Forte. Outstanding coverage and a good tackle in the open field by Tulloch. Also had a little help out there from Mathis. There is a penalty flag down and into the game after the penalty where the Lions had the Bears stopped. They get another chance. 3rd down and 3 for Chicago. Cutler throws into traffic, and it's intercepted by Delmas. Fake to Bush. Lay it off to Bush. Got a block from Calvin Johnson that springs him for an additional 7 yards. Well, that's good blocking by a guy you're paying a lot of money to catch passes down the field in Calvin Johnson.
What we say in the open, Tom, that not just in the running game, which is so pivotal for Detroit to get cranked up, but it's the catches out of the backfield. He gets 4 or 5 of those. That wasn't a screen. That was just a little drop off. He started to check, he blocks, and then leaks out. And those are the kind of chump change throws that a quarterback loves.
Bush this time on the ground. That's a nice play. Coming up to make the tackle by DJ Williams. The Lions with a 2nd down and 11 at the Chicago 18-yard line. Reggie Bush has been a busy man here in the early going, as you thought he would, Coach Billy.
And they're moving him all over. He's in the backfield. He motions out of the backfield. He's in the slot. He's outside the wide receiver. It's okay. You're going to stop Reggie Bush. It's like, where's Waldo? You've got to find him first.
Somewhat surprising on a 3rd down that Bush is on his way to the sideline. But we mentioned Joyce Bell. Ran for better than 400 yards last year. Also caught 52 passes out of the backfield. Stafford. Calvin Johnson. No. From the 20. On the end around, they give it to Alshon Jeffrey. They like running this play, and when you run it like that, why not? Close to midfield. That'll be a 27-yard gain on 1st down.
You're going to see, and the Bears told us early that they were going to rely on a good deal of misdirection. That interior line of the Detroit Lions, you know, it's an old principle of physics. When a body in motion stays in motion, when it's a big body like Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley, that's like turning a cruise ship around. It takes a little while. So they were going to rely heavily on misdirection plays.
Please don't ever bring up physics again. For me and those watching at home. And they pitch it to Forte. He's inside the 30, and Forte will dance his way to the end zone. 53-yard run by Matt Forte. Got blocked from Jeffrey and Marshall on the outside.
You're going to see Willie Young come inside with the little play fake to the fullback. Gives up that edge for Matt Forte. Nice job blocking down the field by Alshon Jeffrey.
53-yard touchdown run. And now Reggie Bush and the Lions try to answer. It's been a big first half for Bush, and he's up to the 32-yard line. That'll be a gain of almost 15 for Bush.
This is exactly the kind of run you want out of Reggie Bush. He's just going to get the ball, little counter step to get the defense moving. Look at those feet. Reggie Bush is a lot bigger man than you think, but obviously those feet and then the explosion once he gets that rhythm going downfield.
Bush with another big hole. Before this game started, Coach Billick, you came out and said you can talk about Stafford, you can talk about Cutler, you can talk about Marshall, you can talk about Johnson, but you thought the running backs would be the guys to keep an eye on, and that is certainly true so far.
The last time the Lions beat Chicago here in Detroit, they cranked off better than 180 yards and run, and only 1 turnover by Matthew Stafford. So far they haven't had the turnover, and they seem to have the running game cranked up.
This was an offense that was the most lopsided offense In all of the NFL a season ago, they threw it more than anybody ever. Into coverage, and that is great coverage by Tillman on Calvin Johnson. Very talented Lion left end. Went down for the season with an injury last week, and Willie Young is starting in his place. Play fake. Scheffler down the middle of the field, and that's to the 30 in the first half. Infrequently used Chelsea, Michigan native Tony Scheffler, just his third catch.
And what we see around the league, a quick play fake, gets the linebackers to step up. Briggs can't ride the tight end long enough, at least not legally. Quarterback raises it up, hit it right over the top of the trailing linebacker.
Scheffler had a couple of really good years after he came back home. We mentioned a Michigan native, and then tailed off at the end of last year. Barely ever hear his name this year. Bush just trying to get back to the line of scrimmage. He may have lost a half yard. Let's check in once more back in Los Angeles with Kurt.
Well, the Houston Texans off to a good start against the #1 defense in the league, Seattle. Arian Foster, a little 5-yard score from Matt Schaub. It's 14-3 right now. Texans in front at home. Tom, Brian, and Laura.
A lot of people in the NFC watching this game, because the last thing anybody wants to do is to have to go through Seattle in the playoffs. Anytime you see AFC versus NFC, those NFC teams kind of pulling for the AFC team, particularly against a good team like Seattle.
Second down and 10. Underneath. Catch made by Pettigrew. It's a gain of 9. Third down and a yard coming up. Hey, Seattle should have lost their first game of the year on the road. That was that game down in Carolina where the Panthers was going in for the touchdown, and they fumbled on the 8-yard line, D'Angelo Williams.
But every game in the NFL is going to be tight. You got to love the way they're playing defense. Russell Wilson, not necessarily the big numbers right now, but very efficient. They're running the ball. They are probably as complete a team as Seattle as we've seen in the league in quite a while. Offense, defense, running the ball, throwing the ball, good pass defense, good pressure on the quarterback.
We're in a long one, and they're going to throw it, and it is dropped. No sooner did we say Tony Scheffler has been a pretty dependable guy. Of course, 2 years ago, the Lions were the 3rd most penalized team in the NFL. They got roughly to the middle of the pack last year, and again, they're among the league leaders in most penalties this year. And that was nearly a second interception thrown by Jay Cutler, and it could have been a second return for a touchdown. Forte nowhere to go this time. That one went nowhere right from the start. Darius Slay, the rookie, in coverage on Marshall.
I want you to look at the punter here now. Something in the pass rush or the outside edge of the Detroit Lions, they look for a quicker punt than most teams that put their punt returner at 15 yards.
Spurlock into the open field. He's off to the races with a punter to beat. And run out of bounds. Podlash able to slow him down.
That happens, and that's bad.
Johnson got a block from Scheffler, and that's a gain of 9.
This is the difference in that Detroit Lion team you talked about, Tom, last year, that was so one-dimensional, where all they could really do is throw the ball in. With Joique Bell, with Reggie Bush, they have some options here. They're a team that, if they want to, can try to run the ball into the end zone and just not throw up 3 and 4 straight passes.
Second and 1, Bush, and very close to a first down. Need to get it to the 12, and that's right where they have it marked. Wrapped up by Julius Peppers. And it appears as though they're about a foot short. What's big play right here? If Chicago, after that big return, is able to hold them to at least a field goal try, waning confidence would have to be the story for the Lions.
And they've got both Joique Bell and Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush, they flank out here into the slot, either to pull attention and hand it to Bell, or maybe find him on a short pass.
They throw it to Durham, and he is down close to the goal line. Chris Durham, who had a big fourth-quarter reception last week in the win over the Redskins, comes up with a big third down catch here.
They're going with the no huddle. They're trying to catch Chicago without making a defensive call from the sideline, forcing them to do this on the run.
And the ball is loose. Is it a touchdown for Stafford? Still waiting for the signal, and it is a touchdown. Whoa! Wow. Till halftime. Cutler has hit on 4 of 8, 51 yards. He's been intercepted. Forte, 5 carries, 60 yards. Looking for Marshall, intercepted. Glover Quinn to the corner of the end zone. Did he get there? No, out of bounds in the 2. Terrible throw by Cutler. Bell in the backfield, Stafford under center. They throw the jump ball to Johnson. And that's a touchdown. His first touchdown catch against Chicago since 2011. Ashley Palmer drops Forte for a 2-yard loss.
Count for it. The guard reaches over, taps the center, and it doesn't help.
That's Stephen Tulloch on the sack. The Bears will punt.
And they haven't had the turnovers that have plagued teams as they play the Bears.
They run it. Reggie Bush on first down. And he loses the football. And it looks like the trailer, Calvin Johnson, able to cover it up. And that's good enough for a first down. It was Tillman who stripped it out of there. And who's been better in the NFL at doing that than Charles Tillman?
Yeah, great hit here. Conti gets in on it as well. Right on cue. I talk about them not turning the ball over, and there they fumble it. But that's a big part of turnovers as well. You can't have free runners. That's on the offensive line, meaning guys hitting you in the backfield before you get there. And receivers have got to trail the play just because of that type of thing.
Give it right back to Bush. Leaps out of one tackler. Reggie Bush to the end zone.
Plenty of time to make some things happen. They got 3 timeouts, but you can't force the ball.
Now the Bears have gotten a couple of big fourth-quarter comeback throws, of course, from Cutler. Game-winning fourth-quarter drives against Cincinnati, along with Minnesota. But this is the first time they've been in a major hole. They were down to the Bengals. They were dominated by the Bengals in the first half. And then they dominated Cincinnati in the second half. But they're down 30-10. Forte wrapped up by Slay. A very important third down for the Bears. Lions thinking about getting the football back. Third down and 4. Cutler sacked by Ndamukong Suh. And Cutler very slow to get up. In fact, needed help getting up. Their own 32-yard line. Stafford to Pettigrew trying to get out of bounds. He does not. The clock will continue to run in there in hurry-up mode up to the 40-yard line. Of course, Akers, their kicker, shares the NFL record for the longest field goal in the history of the league. It's 63 yards. He did it in a season opener at Green Bay for the 49ers a year ago. Joy Bell, a good carry up to the 46. They have one timeout left.
Charles Johnson's on the sideline. I don't know if he's winded or recovering from something. Excuse me, Calvin Johnson, not Charles, but Calvin. Normally he would be a big part of this 2-minute offense. He must be walking something off.
Hill, met by Anderson, but Bell able to drive into Chicago territory, and that clock continuing to run down to 45.
Now he's back on the field. Down here at the bottom.
And they've got Zachary Bowman on him down there. Stafford steps up. Crossing pattern. The catch made by Bell. That's to the 40-yard line. And the Lions spend the time. All right, Lions with the ball. 40. Down the middle of the field, and Stafford missed a wide open Ryan Broyles.
Yeah, he knows that one was a little.
He's locked up with Zachary Bowman. Stafford looking that way, and it's stripped from behind. And covered up by McClellan. Julius Peppers snuck in behind Stafford and batted it away. So now with 19 seconds and 3 timeouts remaining, the Bears get the ball.
Riley Reef has been holding up pretty good all day. They've not helped him out, and in that instance it hurt him because Julius Peppers with those long arms pushing the edge of Riley Reef, reaching out with that long paw and stripping the ball. Now all of a sudden with 20 seconds left, a reversal of fortunes with Chicago an opportunity at the very least to get in field goal position.
A 12 takeaway this season for Chicago. Most in the league, and trying to add to the 44 points off of the takeaway. Cutler steps up and underthrows. Brandon Marshall, who was open down at the 30-yard line. Looked like Cutler didn't have his feet underneath him when he threw that ball on the run. Cutler 7 of 12 for only 65 yards. Wide open and tiptoeing along the sideline. How in the world did Alshon Jeffrey get that wide open? That is a first down at the 10-yard line.
And right here at the top, we've already seen this turn into an interception. He couldn't quite get there. Left just a little bit late, did Glover Quinn, to not get there in time this time for the big catch down the sideline by Alshon Jeffrey.
36-yard gain on a completion, and the Bears first and goal. Pump fake. Martellus Bennett, and that is incomplete. He caught it, but it looked like he did not get both feet in bounds, and somebody threw something at Bennett from a stance in the end zone.
Jay Cutler's got to get the ball up quickly, not only to complete it, but because of the time, must not have handled the ball through the process. As we say, the ball comes down. Yep, the ball moves, comes out right there. Had both feet in, but the ball bounced down. We may see it here.
Forte, 6 rushing attempts, 58 yards. 53 of them came on the touchdown run. And a good carry to begin the second half. That'll be a gain of close to 8. Laura Oakman, you had a chance to catch up with Mark Trestman.
I did, and he echoed what Brian said. He was saying the most important thing he could tell his team at halftime was take a deep breath. This is the first taste of adversity we've gotten this season. The second half is when we're about to find out who we really are. Stephen Tulloch, before the game, told me something interesting. He said our goal is to play against our opponent, not ourselves today. Jim Schwartz likes the way he's playing, but in typical coach speak fashion, said we have a 17-point lead, but we left 12 points on the field we should have had. We need to finish those in the second half.
Yeah, that was their problem early on. Field goals rather than touchdown. Second down, they give it to Forte, and that's Sue. Meets him in the backfield. So a third down coming up for Chicago, and some of the numbers Coach Billick in the first half dominated as they are on the scoreboard.
Obviously, turnovers are important, but look at that. Only 5 first downs. And so they haven't been on third down. You're 0 for 5. So if you're not generating first downs on first and second down, and you're 0 for 5 on third down, that's a tough day. That's a lot of 3 and outs.
Well, 3rd and 5 on this opening possession of the second half. Play clock down to 3. They get it off. Forte met in the open field by DeAndre Levy, and they still have not converted on third down. They'll punt it. It's possession of the second half for the Lions, leading Chicago 30-13. And on first down, Reggie Bush maybe back to the line of scrimmage. Reggie Bush, for the first time in his NFL career, rushed for over 100 yards in the first half of a game. His former Heisman Trophy winner, the 2nd pick overall in 2006 by New Orleans. Traded in 2011 to Miami. That was the first year he ran for 1,000 yards. I tell you what, he keeps going the way he's going, and he stays healthy. He's going to be knocking on that door this year. Peppers dropping off into coverage with Bush right there with him. 3rd down and 11.
And there's the rub, Tom, obviously with the Reggie Bush. You can see here, this is just a little quick throw to the outside. And when you've got a Julius Peppers outside with those long arms and the athleticism, normally you say, let's see, a defensive end on Reggie Bush. That normally doesn't turn out well, but he's such a great athlete. But as you mentioned it, Reggie Bush, the key is what are the touches going to be? If they're going to get him through the entire season, he's not a 350 carry type guy. He's 150 carry, maybe 70, 80 receptions. You can get a lot of mileage out of that.
They dump it off to Joyke Bell. That's a nice tackle made in the open field by Isaiah Fry. Fry taking the position.
Once one moves and begins to end, lean that way, then it affects the next job and the next job and the next job after that.
They're coming out throwing on first down. And the catch is made by Marshall up to the 45-yard line, hit by Slay. That's a gain of 25 on first down, and Marshall limping to the Chicago sideline.
Now that play took way too long as the ball's up in the air. Slay comes screeching in. Jay Cutler, not knowing Slay was there, was lucky it wasn't intercepted. Don't know if it's the hip or the ankle that he came down on. Just needs a little time on the sideline. Regroup.
Called a gain of 24. They spot it at the 44. And once more, Cutler to throw. Takes the long ball down the sideline. Jeffrey. Did he get it? What a catch made by Alshon Jeffrey. All the way down to the 12-yard line. He just won that jump ball with Houston and Quinn.
I don't know that you can play it much better than this. Alshon Jeffrey, time, little pushing and shoving, but nothing egregious there. And just almost like a back shoulder throw, goes up. He just took the ball off the rim. Houston not having the same ups. I don't know what you tell Chris Houston there to do any different.
So now Chicago bangs on the door.
Brandon Marshall's back on the field.
Looking for Martellus Bennett. And it's incomplete. Second down. On an end around.
Martellus Bennett's on the outside, going to motion back inside. Usually they try to run some kind of rub combination here. Nope, just going to run the pitch.
And Ndamukong Suh able to shove Forte to the ground. It brings up third down. 9:40 to play in a third.
So far, Chicago's 0 for 6 on third down conversions. They got a 3rd and 5 here to see if they can keep this drive alive, if not into the end zone.
Jeffrey. And batted away by the rookie Slay.
Plan he came out with to start the game.
Of course, a big part of that game plan when healthy is the man who has the ball right now. That's Reggie Bush. mentioned in his Lions debut, that was the opening weekend here against Minnesota. He had 90 yards rushing. He had 101 yards receiving, including what was a 77-yard touchdown reception. That's it right there. Injured his knee week 2. Week 3 didn't play, and today for the first time in his career, he carries for over 100 yards in one half. Stafford guns it in there. And hanging on to the football is Pettigrew, and that's a first down. And we check in back in Los Angeles with Kurt.
New quarterback for the Vikings. It doesn't matter much when you got the old Adrian Peterson in the backfield, right? Second touchdown of the day. He's over 100 yards already midway through the third quarter. And they've got a 10-point lead over the Steelers in London, looking for that first win of the season. Tom, Brian, and Laura.
Of course, both of them looking for their first win of the season. Thank you very much, Matt Castle. Making his first start as a Vikings quarterback after the injury to Christian Ponder. It's Jordan Bell for a yard.
And Detroit has taken on a running scheme that's pretty straightforward. The interior of the offensive line with Sims and Rioli and Warford are doing a nice job against the interior of the Chicago Bear line, which is a little undersized. Henry Milton obviously down for the season. When I say undersized, I'm saying 290, 295 pounds. That's still pretty good, but not the huge beef that you see on the other side with Detroit having Sue and Farrell.
Second down. Big hit. And Pettigrew's shaken up. Got sandwiched in between Wright and DJ Williams. But apparently he's all right. Well, maybe. He started to walk to the Bears sideline. Maybe he's not all right.
Yeah, this is life in the NFL as a tight end. Most of your catchers are going to come at that 4, 5, 6 yard level in between the linebacker and some corner or safety coming in from the outside.
Pettigrew got his bell run. He'll come over to the Detroit sideline. Third down and 5. Bears looking for a stop to get the football back. And thrown over the head of Theo Riddick. So the Lions once more will be forced to punt. 2 possessions, 2 punts here in the second half. Regular group. Little additional protection for Jay Cutler. Willie Young slowed it down, but Forte slips a couple of tackles, cutting it back up to the inside. And he's to the 22. That'll be a gain of close to 6.
Was that the same play that the Bears gashed him for in the first half? Willie Young said, not so fast, not the second time. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. There's Britton again, whether it's an unbalanced line, a big line for the run, or for the added protection. Problem is, with the added protection, you have fewer receivers out.
Forte, a first down up to the 30-yard line. We mentioned Forte has had by far more so against the Lions than any other opponent. His best career rushing numbers.
Yeah, and Matt Forte, since he's come into this league, he's just the versatility. You know, at first people thought he runs a little upright. Reminds me of Robert Smith, who I had in Minnesota. Smith had a lot more speed. But the power he generates still running upright is amazing to me.
Forte slips the tackle and still gets positive yardage as he's up to the 33-yard line.
Well, both teams have focused on taking away the big outside weapons. We haven't seen Calvin Johnson do a whole lot. He's had an impact. You're never going to shut him out totally. Brandon Marshall's shown up a little bit. You got to believe one or both of these guys has a big play in them, particularly for Brandon Marshall, to continue to try to get the Bears back in this thing.
Floated for the tight end Bennett, and great coverage down the field by Glover Quinn.
Had to stop play in order to let them get reset.
3rd and 8. Great protection. Catch made by Earl Bennett, but there is a penalty flag. This might come back. We'll see.
Right side right over here. Seeing it gets pushed back in and just pushing and shoving, pushing and shoving. Well, I don't know how you decide whose hand was on whose face in that one.
Third down and 18. Cutler fires over the middle. It's intercepted for the 2nd time today by Delmas. 3rd interception overall thrown by the Chicago quarterback. Tillman again on the sideline, and Zachary Bowman replaces him. Bush, a 1st down.
Well, we got to go back to what set this up, which is the interception. Like anything, when you talk about interceptions, there's 4 things that you can point to for an interception. Alshon Jeffrey coming into this giant hole right here in the middle. And again, it's either going to be a bad decision, all right, a bad throw, bad vision, or bad luck. And this one was just a bad throw. He had a wide open Alshon Jeffrey right in the middle, and he just overthrew it.
Reggie Bush thrown to the deck by Peppers. Peppers has been much more active here today.
He has, like we said to start, a little quiet in the first 3 games. This is a phenomenal talent. Coming out of Carolina, the athletic defensive end, he can do so many things. A lot of people in the day used to say run at Julius Peppers. He's such a great athlete. He's great at putting his hands up, but you can run at him. When this guy wants to crank it up, there are none better.
Of course, he played not only football for the Tar Heels, also a starter on their basketball team. Bush spins away from Jennings. Back to the inside. What a run for Reggie Bush. Boy, that is one big-time run. It might not be a touchdown run. You might not see it on the highlights. This is something.
Well, it's the jump cut and bouncing the outside, then just the spin. That innate ability, you wake up with that in the morning. That's not coached. That's just something that you have. And this guy, when you talk to the coaches of the Detroit Lions, every time you bring up Reggie Bush, there's a smile that comes over their face because they know what he means, that missing X factor that they've missed the last couple of years.
15 carries, 132 rushing yards for Reggie Bush. And now Stafford will slide to the 12-yard line, and we slide our way out to LA to Kurt Menefee.
And the Baltimore Ravens are sliding a little bit closer in Buffalo. Torrey Smith, 26-yard reception from Joe Flacco, edges them within 6 points midway through the 3rd quarter of the Bills. Tom, Brian, and Laura.
Well, the Ravens, 7.5 points per game the last couple of weeks, Brian.
That'll change. They are the reigning Super Bowl champ. Don't count them out just yet.
Don't count anybody out. I was asking you about.
I know. I will see you watching that score.
Boy, you wonder.
Goodness.
Intercepted. Well, you talk sometimes about bad luck. That might have been a bad throw and bad luck. But after all that running, Brian, I got to ask you, 2nd down and what, a yard?
Well, you got
throwing?
And you can see they're all bunched up in here because of that run. That's just bad luck. That's a bad throw. It's behind him, bounces up off the knee. Just enough so Zach Bowman can step to it. This Chicago Bear team is a turnover machine, but sometimes, you know, the football gods just smile on you, say, you know what, I think it's
throwing the ball.
The old coach in me is burned up right now.
Well, now you give the football right back to Cutler and the Bears, and dropped by Brandon Marshall. 31 seconds remaining in the. Coming after Cutler, he gets it away through the hands of Forte. 3rd down and 10.
Yeah,
Cutler has missed on his last 6 and thrown an interception.
0 for 8 on 3rd down of the Bears.
0 for 9. Ball's loose. Picked up by Fairley, and it's a touchdown. And Ndamukong Suh stripped it.
Bad luck right here. Excuse me. I thought this was the interception, but just fumbling the ball. But we're seeing miscues, bad throws, high throws. Right now, Chicago, this does change the game plan now. You may not be able to stick with the run as much as you'd like to at this point, all but with over a quarter left to play.
And Forte, an 11-yard carry on 1st down. That will be the final play of this 3rd quarter. And the Bears 3 touchdowns away, but an entire quarter to try and get there. Flushed out of the pocket, looking for the home run ball, and it's underthrown. That's the 2nd time today Cutler has had to roll out of the pocket and just didn't have enough on the throw and missed a wide open receiver. Sue will say it's the first time they haven't gotten me. Cutler to Marshall, and that's a 1st down. Up to the 36-yard line. All right, Brian, you talked about some of the halftime adjustments. Well, now it's 15 minutes to go. You're down 3 touchdowns. Would you be hurrying up a little bit more here, even though it just started?
You know, that, or it's on a day where my offense hasn't converted on a 3rd down yet. I'm just looking for that one good drive to bring it back to the 2 scores. But I am going to pick my pace. I'm going to go no huddle, but I'm going to pick my pace up just a little bit.
It's not that ball. 7 seconds left on the play clock. Did he get both feet in bounds? That is what we're waiting. They will confirm. No, out of bounds. Chris Houston. He was. Bennett leveled by Tubman at the 40. This will bring up a 3rd down and a long 6. And again, the Bears have not converted a 3rd down the entire day. 0 for 9.
Yeah, that big goose egg on the 3rd down. Like I said, if you're not doing it there, of course, Detroit's not a whole lot better at 2 and 8, but they're converting on 1st and 2nd down with Reggie Bush running the ball.
Escapes one hit, and then is that a catch by Marshall? No, he was juggling the ball. Back in Detroit, 13-14 to play the final quarter. Lions have the lead, 21, and they have the football, and Reggie Bush carries for maybe a couple of yards.
And this is where Detroit can distinguish themselves from the last couple of years, that they're sitting here on top 37-16. Before, they didn't have the capability of running the ball to finish out a game. And that's going to present an opportunity down the field, because Chicago's going to make something happen. They got to start dropping the safety down in here, knowing that they're going to start running the ball, even though they're emptying it out right here. Some opportunities are going to present itself. Bears got to make something happen here, and they're very good at doing just that.
Durham across the middle, and he's all the way up to the 45-yard line. You saw that note, Matthew Stafford, and this is his 49th career game. Has the most passing yards ever in a player's first 50 games of a career. Kurt Warner had 13,864 yards in his first 50 games. And Stafford now up over 14,000 in this his 49th game. Those are staggering numbers. Well, you know what, Brian? It's like you talked about last week. As Bush evades one tackle. We'll hold that thought and check in very quickly with Kurt Menefee.
Well, the Seahawks quickly trying to do the comeback thing down in Houston. Marshawn Lynch, easy 3-yard score. 7.5 left to go. They're within a touchdown at the Texans. Tom, Brian, and Laura.
And actually, that's the kind of test that Seattle needs. They got things rolling, feeling pretty good about themselves. Can they get a comeback on the road? That'll be important for them if they can make that happen.
2nd down and 8. I want to get back to Stafford real quick, Brian. There's no doubt he walked into a situation where this was a terrible Lions team. Stafford will sling it across the middle, and once more it's Durham, who has 3 catches on the afternoon. That's a first down to the 30-yard line.
This is man underneath coverage. He steps up and just a little sidearm flick. That's what a Matthew Stafford does. You know, this guy he can sit in the pocket in a prototypical quarterback, but he's got the full repertoire of throws, to use the Bill Walsh term. And some of the records he's coming up with, names around him: Kurt Warner, Drew Brees in his 5,000-yard passing season. You know, Matthew Stafford is in some select company with some of the numbers he's putting together. Now it's just got to match up with the wins.
Well, that's what I was getting at, because you brought up with Cam Newton. You know, we visited with Ron Rivera, Cam Newton, and now his 4th year in the league. Christian Ponder, his 2nd year in the league. Leslie Frazier saying, we're all so quick to judge a young quarterback now. But you talked about how, look, you can have all the numbers in the world, but it's got to connotate into wins and then later playoff wins.
And one of the hardest things to do is to separate the evaluation of the quarterback from what's going on around him and the team. And clearly with Detroit still trying to change that culture, and he was a big part of that with Jim Schwartz's first pick in his first draft.
And look, Cutler is facing those same challenges despite the fact that he wasn't a draft pick to the Bears, but they gave up a ton to get him. Highly talented quarterback coming over from Denver. Only once in his career has he ever taken a team to the playoffs, and only one playoff win.
And was not given that contract extension in the offseason. Basically say, okay, let's see how this goes. Upside could be, okay, I'll Joe Flacco it and give me a big number at the end if we win. But like you said, the wins on the field have to match up with the stats you put together.
Third down. Looking for John. That had no chance from the beginning. None. Bears in front of Detroit with 8:49 to go. And a first down catch made by Martellus Bennett.
And you asked Tom early, when is it time to push the panic button and change what we're doing? Well, it's right now. And you can see they're already into the no huddle. They got a big gap to make up at 40-16. And they got to pick the pace up, because now the clock's working against them as well.
Good throw and a good catch once more by Bennett. And that'll be a Chicago first down, closing in on the 8-minute mark.
We talked about the improvement in Jay Cutler and the more concise game and staying within the offense, but he's also capable of doing this now. This is in his wheelhouse. If I just got to heave the ball down the field.
Cutler can also run it. Of course, that was one of the rallying points that was frequently talked about, Brian, last week. But it did raise a very interesting topic, and I know one that you initially brought up. You know, when Cutler took off on that 13-yard run where he lowered his shoulder into Steeler Robert Golden, and everybody looked at it like it could be a rallying cry for the Steeler, for the Bears quarterback, who's had his ups and his downs with both the fan base and the media, even teammates and coaches in Chicago. On his second down and a yard. And that's a first down inside the 35-yard line, and once more it's Bennett. But if you're a defender, what are you supposed to do?
That was my first thought. I understand, great, it's a competitive Jay Cutler, but we're so much about protecting the players, and you can see Martellus Bennett took a little bit of a shot, and they're checking to see how he's doing. Hopefully.
And you saw that game lurking a little over a month out. The Packers, who have owned the Bears in recent years. Forte tripped up just short of a first down. There is a penalty flag behind the line of scrimmage.
Holding offense number 67, 10 yards, still first.
You look at Detroit's schedule, Tom. You talk about the opportunity for Chicago in here to come in here, get a win on the road. You look at Detroit. They can follow this up and go on the road to Green Bay. The ramifications in the NFC North continue to hold Green Bay down. Win another divisional game on the road. What did I tell you the formula? Win at home, split on the road. If you can get that tough divisional road win on top of what looks like it might be a good divisional win at home, Detroit Lions are on the run.
Hand it off to Forte. First down and 20. The Lions have really allowed them to just sort of dink and dunk their way down the field at this point, which will do nothing but chew up time. And the Bears are running out of that.
And why not? You've put them into a 3rd and 10 on a day where they're 0 for 10 are the Bears on 3rd down. And again, we keep talking about the clock. You'll give up yardage as you continue to let that clock wind down.
Last time they went without a 3rd down conversion, another one of those many losses in recent years to the Packers. And they're still without a 3rd down conversion. Now they will go on 4th.
Absolutely.
Well, you would think.
Yeah, there's no upside to kicking the field goal here. If I'm 0-11 on 3rd down, maybe I can go 1 for 1 on 4th down. You know, the sheer odds at some point says you're going to convert. So,
right.
You know, go with the odds. Roll the dice.
Of course, Mark Trestman has not tasted defeat as a head coach in the NFL. But 5:05 away from tasting it today. Caught by Forte, and it is a 1st down on a 4th down try.
And again, Jay Cutler, you know, the mark of a good quarterback, any quarterback, is the ability to deliver the ball. When the pocket's not right, your fundamentals, your feet aren't right necessarily under, you can't follow through with the throw, all the things that you practice. About 70% of the time, you're not in that environment. Jay Cutler has the kind of physical ability with his arm strength to make all the throws.
Barely had to lead the game, looks shaken up. And that one thrown out of bounds. Cutler had only been sacked 3 times. Blitz coming. And the catch is made by Jeffrey. And the clock will continue to roll. He's down to the 14-yard line. And we're under 4.5 to play.
And the Detroit Lions are just fine with this. That clock, I guarantee you. Gunther Cunningham, the defensive coordinator, has got an eye on the clock as much as he does the chains in terms of recognizing what kind of calls he needs to limit the Bears.
Into the end zone, and Jeffrey dropped. Let's go to Los Angeles for a quick update.
The Seahawks were down 20-3 at Houston at halftime, but look at this. Bad throw by Matt Shaw. Richard Sherman takes advantage. 58-yard interception return for a touchdown. And just like that, it's all even at 20. Just over 2 minutes to play in regulation. Tom, Brian, and Laura.
Well, you said it, Brian. Look out for Seattle.
I know there's some people that question, are they really good, you know, and can they go on the road? I
That's
don't know.
me.
They look pretty good to me.
Into the end zone, and is that a touchdown? It is. Jeffrey dropped the one a moment ago. And this time, he just snatches it away from Darius Slay. And that is Cutler's first touchdown of the game.
Well, he throws back shoulder to Martellus Bennett, back shoulders to Brandon Marshall, and there's one to Alshon Jeffrey. He's a non-discriminating quarterback when it comes to the back shoulder throws for touchdowns.
That's a nice catch.
Great hands, great strong hands.
And now the 2-point conversion. And they're going to throw it out there again to Jeffrey, and again he beats Slay on a touchdown, and now a 2-point. So that makes it a 40-26.
2 first downs is all you need.
Joey Bell. Back to the line of scrimmage. Really not a huge offensive day. Stafford to throw. Caught by Johnson to the Chicago 35-yard line.
And that's just what we said. You got to generate first downs. You got to know you're going to run. The linebacker stepped up with the quick play fake, opening it one-on-one on the backside for Calvin Johnson. Now it puts you back on schedule. Let's pound away here and finish this game out.
And again, not a big day for Johnson. 4 catches, 44 yards. Does have a touchdown.
Right, the average that he gets against Chicago. That numbers I gave you to start the game were the 2 games last year. We had 8 receptions for 100 yards, and the ball comes out. Of course it does. This is the Chicago Bears.
Joik Bell had the football. Had his...
Jim Schwartz knowing right here, this is the classic 4-minute. All I need is a couple first downs. Secure the ball, get your hand on it, secure it, and sometimes the ball comes out. He wasn't loose with it, but at all costs, you got to hold on to the ball. And not necessarily by design. The ball, his hands just kind of came down, and out comes the ball. But
always loved about you. Never been afraid to go out on a limb.
Nothing gets by me.
Hit as he threw, and it still floats into the arms of Marshall, who's spun down to the ground. Tell you what, Kurt, you and Brian,
we're all over it, aren't we?
Yeah. To be able to step out there like that and not be afraid, public reaction, who cares?
I'm thrilled to death that Kurt's still listening to me.
Oh, he's listening. Bears going to try to get one more play off before the 2-minute warning, which they will do. Cutler being chased by Willie Young and caught by Marshall, and that takes us to and now Cutler throws to Bennett, and that's to the 18-yard line. As we're down to 1:15, down to 1:45. In the air and incomplete. They've had to play Darius Slay ever since. Flag down. .16 spread with 1:23 left. Brandon Marshall tackled at the 10. Bears have 2 timeouts left. And trying to hurry up. Cutler willing his team to pick up the pace. I mean, you can say that, you know, odds are long, but stranger things have happened. We're taking a lot of time getting this play off. Flag down. That ball dropped by Earl Bennett. With Jonte Green and Cutler.
Oh, hey, I paid my alumni dues.
Cutler dancing around to the end zone. Bennett hangs on this time, and that's a touchdown. This game is not over yet. If the Bears find a way to get this 2-point conversion, and it's the only hope they have, is to get the 2-point conversion before the onside kick.
Get an onside kick, score a touchdown, get another 2-point conversion. What was the old Don Meredith's line? Fat lady ain't singing, but she's humming real good.
But still, it's happened before.
Yeah, and you learn from this. You know, you put your team in this situation. You act as though it takes the 2-point to win the game. You practice the heck out of it.
By the way, that was their first 3rd down conversion of the game in their 13th attempt. And they get the 2-point conversion to Marshall in the back of the end zone. They will take a look at that to make sure, but all of a sudden, 43 seconds left, and if the field call stands.
Now you can see Marshall's here at the bottom of the screen working the end line. Jay Cutler working back to him. This is a strong man right here. Keep that ball up above your head. Maintain possession. He knows he's got to do it all the way to the ground and throughout. That's a big lead catch. Again, I don't know what you tell Bentley, the DB. I mean, he's got it covered about as good as
time. Left side this time. And Durham, for the second time, covers it up. Others will see Dallas and San Diego. Very few will see the Redskins in Oakland. That's going to do it. That's a big win for the Lions. So the Lions and the Bears sit atop the NFC North, both at 3-1. Green Bay Packers will try and get to 2-2. Nick Fairley scores his first career touchdown. We thank our producer Bob Stenner, our director Greg Scopatoni, Mark Titleman, our replay producer. Up here in the booth, Tom Barbary, our statistician, Scott Snyder, our spider. Let's send it back to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.